Thanks, Katie. I guess I need my little.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry. I didn't realize. Okay, I will now call the hearing to order. I would like to begin by acknowledging that we are in Treaty 1 territory on the traditional homeland of the Métis Nation. This afternoon, sitting on the panel, we have Ms. Lynn Nesbitt on my direct left, Mr. Doug Marks on my far left, and I'll be chairing the hearing today. My name is Robert Hutchings. Representing the Assessment and Taxation Department, City of Winnipeg, is Mr. Baracus, and our Executive Assistant today is Ms. Sutherland. We will be hearing applications for revision of the assessment role in accordance with the Municipal Assessment Act. The matters for which revision is requested have been described in each application, and we will limit discussion to those matters. The statements that applicants or the assessor make at this hearing are sworn testimony, and anyone speaking to the matters must be sworn in. Be advised that comparisons of assessments of properties are not considered evidence of market value by this Board of Revision. The Board of Revision is appointed annually by council and is independent of it and the city administration. It makes its decisions on the basis of evidence provided at this hearing and issues a written order that will be mailed to all parties as soon as possible. Please note that the board's decisions with respect to an application may be appealed to the Manitoba Municipal Board if the matter pertains to assessed value or classification, or the Court of Queen's Bench if the matter pertains to the application of exemptions from taxation. Should you wish to appeal further, any information on how to do so will be included with this board's order. With respect to the hearing process, I will confirm the matters to be addressed with each applicant following their swearing in. We will then have the assessor's testimony followed by cross-examination by the appellant first and then the panel members, and then the appellant's testimony followed by cross-examination by the assessor first and then the panel members again. Each side will have an opportunity to summarize if they wish. Once all the evidence about an application has been brought forward, the applicant may leave. The process will repeat for each item on the docket today. The session will close after all the applications have been heard, and the board will deliberate in private and make its decisions based on evidence presented here today. You will receive the order by registered mail as soon as possible. As information, all public hearings are live streamed, recorded, and will be part of the public record. And please, can everybody make sure their cell phones are in complete silence before we begin, pardon me. Okay, good afternoon, Ryan and Matthew. Katie, could you swear in the parties, please?
Please state your name.
Matt Brokus.
Do you affirm that the evidence you're about to present is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you. So, do you affirm, please?
I swear.
Sir?
Yeah.
So please state your name.
Ryan Oliveros.
Do you swear that the evidence you're about to present is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Afternoon.
First property on the docket is 393 Kennedy Street. Matthew, when you're ready, please. We're just dealing with a 2020 realty appeal.
Yeah.
No other issues. Thank you.
Okay. Let me just look over this. Okay. File number 19-3458, roll number 13053032600, 393 Kennedy Street. Roll year is 2020 with an April 1/18 reference date. The assessed value $6,452,000. 1987. We don't have an effective year built on it. 75 suites, 75 outdoor parking spots, located at Kennedy and Propel Street. So when I reviewed this property, what I'm going to do is actually make a recommendation on this one. So I looked at the applicant's net operating income and their stabilization, and I'm fine with it. So I'm going to use their net operating income of $290,074 and use our 5% cap rate To come up with a recommendation of $5,801,000. That's rounded.
5,801,000.
Yeah, so 5,801,000.
Thank you.
Okay, so I'll just confirm, so we got a recommendation revising from $6,452,000 down to $5,801,000 based on a revised,
Net
using
operating
revised
income, which is,
NOI.
yeah, essentially, our effective gross income is too high. It looks like we're good in terms of expenses, but our effective gross income looks to be high, so we're still going with our 5% cap rate though.
Okay, yeah, but the final value is $5,801,000.
Yeah.
Okay. Ryan, any comments, questions at all, or do you want a minute to review it? I'm not sure if you were aware of it or not.
Yeah, no, I just became aware of it now, so,
You know what, maybe if you want to review it, and we'll ask questions of the assessor first.
Yeah, that's.
if that's okay.
And I'll just continue presenting, talking about the property, and
Okay.
then he can think about it, because he didn't.
Yes,
I'm just doing
perfect.
this like on the spot.
All right.
Okay, so the property, again, Kennedy, Propel, construction class C, masonry, bearing walls, built in '87. You turn to page 2, you see that they've been handing their mailers in the past couple years, so they are compliant. Of the 75 units, there are 33 one-bedroom and 42 two-bedroom suites. Our average monthly rent signed is $846, but my recommendation is based on noting that our rent assigned by the model is too high. By enough where I feel that making a recommendation is worthwhile. So essentially our capitalization rate evidence, going to where we do differ now on this one, starts on page 4A. These are just a sample of sales that took place during the reference period. Again, you guys have seen these before. They're just meant to illustrate the accuracy of the model and substantiate model-derived rates. They're not meant to be comparable, specific in any way. So 4A, the third table down, shows the multifamily properties. And their cap rates run from 4.03 to 5. There's other cap rates that are outside the range or are higher, but this is just to show there are some in the city that are underneath 5%. I know this is new for this go around, but it's just to show that where the model is reflecting real world information. Our typical cap rate chart you see showing the overall ranges for high rises and low rises on page 5, along with our preamble based on the 2020 general assessment. And then the mailers go from 6A to 12 for 17 and 16. Again, I haven't inspected this place, and I couldn't find any online pictures or photos, so I wasn't able to provide those with brief. But the last page here is just what I could find on the computer, just giving a description. It shows the monthly rents. It shows that they are not subsidized, so this is what they're getting in this. Is current, but it does point to the fact that the model is overstating the rents, and that's what my recommendation is based on. So, again, 290,074 with a 5% cap rate comes up with a recommendation of 5,801,000 rounded. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I think we'll ask questions first, okay, and then we'll ask you whether you're in agreement or not, okay, Ryan?
For sure.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any questions of the assessor?
No, it was, my question was about the rents. Like,
Yeah.
And you explained that based on your review, so that's good, thanks.
Thank you. Doug?
Yes, have there been any major upgrades to this facility at all?
No, I don't have any permits or inspections or photos, so I have an effective age on the property, so evidence says no.
Just regular maintenance kind of thing?
I would assume so, yeah.
you. Matthew, location, are we behind Portage Place? Am I wrong here between? I'm trying to figure out the location, you said Coquel, so.
You can see on the applicant's brief on page 2, that's what I just looked in terms of the map.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Just west of Edmonton. So it's in that general area, I believe. Central Park,
Yeah, Central Park, so we're north of
Portage.
Portage, north of Ellis too, right, yeah, okay. Yeah.
North of Portage, and we're quite close to the U of W as well. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, no, that's okay, no.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I just can't picture a new building there, anyway, that's, okay, so, that's my only question. Ryan, any comments on the recommendation by the assessor?
Yeah, just a few questions. Mr. Brockus, did you consider the location of the subject property?
The location of the subject property in regards to the rents or the expenses?
You know, maybe I'll ask you more simply, are you accepting the
Okay.
recommendation first?
I do appreciate the recommendation, Mr. Brockus. I thank you for taking a look into that. Unfortunately, I'm not able to accept the recommendation.
Okay, that's fine.
Of course, we agree with the NOI, but I guess the issue now is the cap rate, so.
Okay, fair enough, okay, so not accepted. Okay, so, yeah, go ahead and ask your questions of the assessor, please.
Okay. I do have some cap rate rebuttal evidence here to submit.
Okay. And this is based on the 5% that the assessor has used in his workup, I assume, right?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Thanks. I think we've seen this before, I believe.
Yes, so I could go through it, but it appears we're quite familiar with it.
Yeah, but if you want to summarize it, sure.
For sure.
And then it'll be relevant for all the properties on the docket today, would that be fair?
That is correct,
Okay,
yes.
thank you.
Yes, I provided a copy for each file on the docket today.
Oh, okay.
All right, so, so on page 2 of my rebuttal evidence here, just reading through it. So there's been a precedence stated at the municipal board, and it states, with the four remaining comparables, sufficient concerns were raised by the appellant on 3 of them regarding the purchaser's intention to significantly renovate or alter the structures. The appellant produced evidence for the purchasers, which makes the board question the use of the purchase price and income information. So with the assessor's first 3 comparables here for their cap rate evidence on page 4A of his brief, 191 Roach, 394 Talbot, and 285 Maxwell. They were all purchased with the intention to renovate. And the board has ruled in the past that that property is purchased with the intention to renovate, the cap rate would be.
I think it's fair to say we've all heard this,
Yeah,
these cap rates being challenged or,
yeah,
and then supported by a municipal board order.
for sure.
So we're all familiar with that. I think, Matthew, you're familiar with it too.
I'm familiar.
Yeah.
I just wanted to ask just a couple of questions, so we're
Yeah, of course.
very familiar with my
Yeah.
questions. When he's finished.
I'm not sure if you're finished. Are you finished yet, Brian?
I just had asked a question previously if Mr. Brockus, if you had considered the location of the subject property, whether in the department's opinion, whether it's a poor location, average.
Well, I mean, it is in Central Park, but I think you mentioned that it is near the University of Winnipeg, which would, there'd be some demand that's generated from the students off of its proximity to the university. So, though it's in Central Park, I don't think location is a factor.
Have you reviewed the census data with regards to Central Park?
No, I'm not.
Yeah, that would be all my questions then
Okay.
regarding this.
Thank you.
And just on the cap rebuttal, So just page 11 of the cap, your cap rebuttal says that, so Roach is one of our sales. This is the sales mailer for Roach, and it shows that they are declaring $100,000 worth of planned suite upgrades for the 36 suites. That's roughly 20, I think it's 2,700 per unit, and it's about the overall declared amount is 2.77 of the overall sale price. Would you think this is significant enough to exclude this property from cap rate analysis?
Well, I mean, it was still purchased with the intention to renovate, so I don't think we can ignore it completely.
Okay. And then on the back side, on page 12, they said they purchased it for the property's net operating income and they used a 5% rate, correct?
That is correct, yes.
Okay. Those are my questions.
Okay, thank you. Doug, any questions about the rebuttal at all?
No, for me.
Okay, thank you. Lynn? And I have no questions either. Thank you. Okay, Brian, when you're ready, please, your evidence for 393 Kennedy Street, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So the subject property, 393 Kennedy Street, roll number 13-0530-32600, file number 19-3458. Page 1 of my brief is just a summary of our analysis today. We are asking this board to reduce the assessed value from $6,452,000 to $4,641,000. The assessor and I, we have when it comes to the characteristics of the property, I believe the only characteristic that we differ on would be the parking stalls. I went by what the owner has stated here, or the property management company, and that is on page 23 of my brief. They have stated 54 parking stalls as opposed to the assessor at 75 parking stalls. So pages 2 and 3, I have provided maps of the subject property. Page 4 to 5 is just our analysis, or stating our reasons for our site-specific analysis. I'm sure you've heard that quite a few times before, so again, the municipal board has ruled repeatedly as well that properties of an income-producing asset should be valued on a site-specific basis. Going to page 7A of my brief. So since Mr. Brokers has made a recommendation with regards to our NOI, I'll just leave the net operating income analysis for your perusal. And again, the only portion of the analysis where we do differ would be the cap rate. So based on our cap rate evidence, we've applied a 5.75% base cap rate for this specific property to capture the site-specific issues, mainly location. I've applied an upward adjustment to the cap rate to reflect that, and I have provided the census data of the Central Park area, and that is in the sub-appendix. It's near the end of my brief there. So we could see here, sub-appendix page 1, the participation rate, the employment rate, and the unemployment rate are below average. Unemployment rate is above average in comparison to the city of Winnipeg. The average and median individual income in Central Park, again below average in comparison to the city of Winnipeg. And also the average household income and the median household income is also below average. And sub-appendix 4, average value of dwelling units in this area are below the average of the entire city. I have just learned that when it comes to board of revision orders, we are not to state these during hearing anymore. This was subsequent to
Sure.
when I received notice of that, so I'll leave that up to the board to discuss.
Fair enough, thank you.
And that concludes my presentation. Again, we are applying a 6.25% cap rate.
Okay. And just for summary, your requested value is $4,641,000.
My requested value is $4,641,000.
Thank you. Thank you, Ryan. Matthew, any questions I can get?
I just have some rebuttal, what I usually handle, the cap rate stuff, 1, 2, 3. Here's 5, and then here's for 1 for each of the rest of the files,
Okay.
so.
Thanks, Keith.
So, I've handed this out before. So there's sales mailers from 2 of the sales in the Altus cap rate study. So the first one is 210 St. Mary's. This is what the purchaser submitted to us when they purchased the property. If you go to page 5, you see the highlighted portion. Says that the purchaser declared they purchased the property based on the net operating income in place, and that they assumed a 5.5 cap rate. Altus's calculations use a 6.25 cap rate, where they've stabilized the repair and maintenance at $332 per unit, using a more standard repair and maintenance per unit. The cap rate will be much closer to what they declared. This is basically the argument this year, is the repair and maintenance stabilized in the Altus cap rate study is not at all like the properties that are presented to us on the applicant side, nor are they anything like what we see in the mailers that we receive. It's not sustainable to spend that much money, that little money rather, on a yearly basis, and not have deferred maintenance. And then if you go to, pardon me, keep flipping to page 6, you'll see the mailer for 718 Beach. Again, flip it over to the last page, page 7. They purchased it for the, in highlighted yellow, purchased it for the property's net operating income, and if yes, they assumed 4.5, and Altus is stabilized at 5.42 with a $500 per unit net repair and maintenance, which is, you're not going to see that on the applicant side from them, because it's not sustainable. So there's a real gap between the repairs and maintenance per unit, on a per unit basis in their study, than there are on what they're saying the various subject properties are. Higher repair and maintenance with a fixed sale price would reduce the cap rate. So it seems that there's a discrepancy there. That's my rebuttal.
Okay, thank you. Ryan, any questions on the rebuttal presented by the assessor? Would you like us, the panel, to ask questions and you can review that while we're doing
Yeah,
that?
if I can review.
Of course, yeah, sure. Doug, any questions?
None to be thinking.
Or any rebuttal?
And I have none.
Okay. Okay, I'll take some time.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. Take your time.
Thank you.
I have no questions either. That saved 15 seconds.
I guess just what raises a concern to me with regards to the cap rates that the owner or the managing company has supplied here was, I don't think they provided a workup.
That's correct, there was no workup provided, this is just simply what they declared. They purchased the property, the cap rate they purchased it based on, but they didn't supply a workup or attach that or anything.
So we wouldn't know how they would have stabilized their expenses if they had brought it up to the reference date at all?
No, I mean, looking at the Altus stabilizations, I mean, I'm hypothesizing, maybe they assumed a higher R&M, which would change the cap rate, but I don't know what they're thinking.
I guess we should go there. No further questions.
Okay.
Thank
Thank you. Okay, so that deals with Matthew's rebuttal. So Matthew, do you have any questions of the appellants?
Yeah,
Evidence
it's just
presented?
on cap on this one, you've heard the questions before, and I talked about it during the rebuttal, just, in terms of the repair maintenance, looking at it at a per unit basis, they range from $332 to $1,072, for 333 ward. In your opinion, is this, sustainable and typical for, the operation of apartments?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that? I didn't-
Yeah, so I looked at, so when you look at the pro formas in the Altus cap rate study, they start on page 6, and they list on a per suite basis what the R&M is per unit, and that kind of gives us an idea of what they're spending per year on a per unit basis, and they range from $332 to $1,072, which is, does that seem low to you, normal, high?
So everything's done on a site-specific basis. I know that, in order for the apartments to keep up, they're gonna have to spend, an amount of repair maintenance, 1,072. That seems about average from what I've seen, from at least only the properties that I've done, or that I've analyzed. So 1,072, that does seem sustainable to me. We can see here the amounts that they're spending on 333 ward. I would say that 1,072 per suite, that seems sustainable to me.
Okay, yeah, you've heard my questions before, so those are my questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Lane, any questions of the appellant's evidence?
The evidence, not
Yes.
the, okay. I do have a question.
Yes.
You've talked quite a bit about the location as being a primary driver of your higher cap rate, right? And specifically, it's in that Central Park area, but we've also heard it's in close proximity to the University of Winnipeg. What would you say to that, and does the University of Winnipeg, does its proximity have a positive influence on this building and its usage by students?
Right. So, I guess that depends on the preferences of the students. I mean, it does depend on where they live, and there's other options around the University of Winnipeg that would bring them in close proximity. They have other modes of transportation available to them. Central Park, I mean, just analyzing the census data, I feel that is an inferior location, and in my opinion, students would look to possibly other parts of downtown as a housing resource, I guess, depending on their income.
How close is
So-
this to the University of Winnipeg? A block?
I would say it's about a 10, 12 minute walk From the University of Winnipeg, I did actually attend the University of Winnipeg myself, and there were many times where I would go to Central Park just on the off hours, but I would say it's about a block or two, 10-12 minute walk from the university.
May I just ask something of your sister?
Sure, of course.
I know that the city applies a premium to its cap rate for a certain area of town. Is this in that market region, or is this outside, or on the boundary, or how close is it?
That's not, market region 4.
Market
I
region?
guess the premium, this one is not in market region 4.
Is it close to market region 4?
Market region 4 is on the other side of the Logan CPR.
Okay.
This one is, looks like it's about a block off Ellis here.
Okay.
And this is Portage Place. And then University of Winnipeg is right here, so it's hard to see.
Yeah.
You guys
That's
get
okay, I
pictures.
kind of get an idea. Right. Okay, thank you. I have no more questions.
Thank you. Doug?
Yeah, regarding the area that's in, it's not in area 4, but it's in area 5,
It's in, area 7.
7? 'Cause, I mean, that area, Central Park area, is, how can I put this? It's dicey at best. And I just think that maybe that would be considered a little more as far as the area.
Well, I mean, the modelers reviewed the properties, and there's no statistical representation of there needing to be a higher cap rate. I mean, with that lower household income, perhaps there's a greater demand on the rental front. I know this property doesn't show like it has any vacancy issues to it. But, yeah, your comment about the characteristic of the neighborhood is definitely received.
Okay.
I've been to Central Park before.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Doug. Okay, Ryan, on page 7A, your workup, I guess?
Yes.
My question is the vacancy. It says, line number 4, it says included in the potential. Can you explain that? I've never.
Right. So I'll bring you just through the example for 2017. That would be on page, let's see here. Page 24 of my brief.
Okay.
Okay, so, we confirmed it with our client. This residential rent that they are stating, the 700,936, those rents already include the vacancy in them. So we don't want to double count for the vacancy, which is why we have stated included on page 7A of our brief. And we do take into account rental discounts as well. And just to state this as well, or actually, that should answer your question, and I don't want to bring up anything more.
Okay,
necessary.
so
Mhm.
can you put a number to the vacancy percentage-wise? Like, what, yeah, if you don't mind.
For sure. So if you look on page 23, they have the potential rents for the 1-bedroom and 2-bedroom units. So if you take that. And then the 42 suites, so 863. So we're looking at about 3.7% vacancy for 2017.
For 2017?
Yes.
And is there any kind of a trend upwards or downwards? Sorry, maybe you didn't figure it out. Okay,
No,
so,
that's okay. We can see here just from line 3. Looks like there's a upward trend for the for the rents.
yeah, pretty stable though, right?
Pretty
For 16 and
stable, yes.
17, yeah, okay. Okay, thanks for doing that, thank you. That's my only question. Did you have a question arising, Ray?
No, when you asked about vacancy, it was right,
Okay.
vacancy.
Yeah, okay. All right, okay. So,
Robert?
yes,
Can I
Doug?
ask one question? Thank you. As far as the repair and maintenance schedule is concerned, you've got it at 1554 Suite. Is that just typical maintenance throughout the year, or has there been some upgrades done to the building? Because there's a substantial number right through from 15 on up.
So the 1550, sorry, that's 1573 per suite. I didn't update that number there. But if you look on page 7B of my report, typically when I see that the repair maintenance can fluctuate, anything over 100,000, that's kind of a red flag in my head. So I'll stabilize it as I have here on page 7B. So you can see that we remove any extraordinary repairs, that's marked in red. Other capital expenditures, waste and snow. If I see anything, I've analyzed each income statement from 2013 to 2017, so I've removed, I didn't consider any expense, any repairs and maintenance that were out of the norm for this property. And you can see that on my notes here, how I've calculated my averages. If I'm seeing that an expense is quite high, for example, on the general repair and maintenance, I will go with 2017 just because I'm seeing the last 4 years, 17 might be the more typical rate for that.
Mhm.
So that's how I worked out my repair and maintenance.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Any requirement for summary at all on this property?
I'm good, thanks.
Okay. Brian, you good?
Yes, I'm on.
Okay. So that concludes 393 Kennedy Street. And we've dealt with some rebuttal items on the cap rates and the rents. So we'll consider those already asked and answered and presented on both parties, by both parties for the rest of the properties. Is that clear? Okay. So that concludes our first property, 393 Kennedy Street. Okay, next property on the docket is 374 Edmonton Street. Matthew, when you're ready, please.
Okay. File number 19-3457, roll number 13053002100, 374 Edmonton. It's an apartment, 87, 43 suites, 20 outdoor parking spots, construction class B. C, masonry bearing walls. I made a recommendation to reduce the assessment. That can be found on page 5. Looking at the actuals, it looks like we're quite a bit off in terms of net operating income. So my new net operating income is 187,802 with our 5% cap rate. Generates our rounded rec of 3,756,000. Just for purposes of being expedient. The net operating income between the city of Winnipeg on the recommendation and the applicant's net operating income is within $2,000 of each other, so it's not only a cap rate issue at this point. So if you go to page 3, you'll see that for the 43 total units, there's 36 one-bedroom, 7 two-bedroom. The average monthly rent was $940, but that analysis, an income breakdown should be disregarded because I've made a rec using the 2 years of actuals, the most recent actuals we have. You'll see on page 2, they haven't been submitting mailers to us consistently. So now that we have the mailers, they've submitted the past 2, we can make an adjustment and fit them in so they won't get such a big kick next time.
Okay, thank you.
So you've heard our cap rate presentation and the questions. This property is located at the corner of Edmonton and Copel, so a similar area as the last one. Thank you.
Thank you. Ryan, have you considered the recommendation and any comments?
I have, and I communicated to Mr. Brocus yesterday, we do appreciate the offer, but unfortunately, I cannot accept the recommendation.
Okay, all right. So, any questions of the assessor's evidence? Ryan?
Yeah, we're only different on the cap rate, and again, those have been answered already, so no questions.
Okay, thank you. Lynn, any questions?
Your cap rate ranges, you're using a 5.
That's just per age, area, and size.
Age, area, and size, and so it fits in that
It fits in.
1975 to 1997 group thing, or?
Let's see. Yeah, so gross floor area over 15,000, 75 to 97, and this market region gets a 5%.
Okay, and that's entirely model?
Yes.
Yeah.
Last go around, it was reduced from 4,124,000 to 3,937,000. They used a 5.5 cap.
Say that again?
They used a 5.5 cap on
In the 2018?
in the 2018.
Okay, I have no further questions.
Thank you. Doug, any questions of the assessor?
No questions for me, thank you.
And good too, thanks.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
may I just comment on the decision that Mr. Brocus just stated?
Okay,
I just want to let the board know that the 2018 decision, it is pending at the municipal board right now. So.
okay. All right, thank you. Okay, Ryan, when you're ready, please, 374 Edmonton Street.
So the subject property, 374 Edmonton Street, roll number 13-053002100, file number 19-3457. Page 1 of my brief, just a summary of my analysis, follows the same, all my briefs just going forward here will follow the same logic. So we're asking this board to reduce the 2020 realty assessment from $5,226,000 to $2,862,000. The assessor has provided an accurate description of the subject property. So I'll skip that part. Pages 2 and 3, I've provided you for the maps of the subject. On page 7 of my brief, this is my income workup. So on page 7, as otherwise stated, we've used the 2017 value. So for example, in line 27 for their repair and maintenance, we use an average of 2013 to 2017. It looks like the repair and maintenance expenses, they were quite in range of each other, so I took just the average, 2013 to 2017 from there. That works out to $1,164 per suite. The cap rate, we've applied a 5.75% base cap rate, just based on the age. I provided you a table on page 6 of my brief. 0.25% premium for the low parking, and an upward adjustment again for the inferior location. And that brings us to our value of $2,862,000. And the balance of my report, similar to the previous property, I've included the census data of Central Park in the sub-appendix, and the financials in the appendix as well, and the assessment details. So to conclude, we're asking this board to reduce the assessed value for 374 Edmonton from $5,226,000 to $2,862,000.
Okay, thank you, Ryan. Matthew, any questions of the appellant?
Just for cap, you added a .75 premium, 25 of which was for low parking and .5 was for location. Is there any support for that in your cap rate study in terms of on a statistical basis?
So our cap rate study doesn't provide for that, but our cap rate study does state that the cap rate comparables that we have used are for properties in good locations. You can see that on page one of my brief. In the table it says, again, the cap rates are based on good locations. So for Central Park, that was my subjective adjustment regarding the location, and that's how I've applied the premium for that.
Okay, those are my questions, thanks.
Thank you. Doug, any questions of the appellant?
No, my question's been answered, thank you.
Thank you. Lynn?
My question was answered too.
Okay, thank you. And I have no questions. Requirement for summary by either party?
Nothing.
Okay, thank you. So that concludes 374 Edmonton Street. Next property on the docket is 421 Assiniboine Avenue. Bear with me 1 second. Okay. Now, 421 Assiniboine Avenue, we're dealing with a 2020 realty assessment only, no other issues. Matthew, when you're ready, please.
Okay, file number 19-2523, roll number 12092640000. Roll your 2020 assessed value, $3,362,000. So we are looking at another apartment, 5 stories, 1 building, 1959. We don't have an effective year built on it with 39 suites, 10 outdoor parking spots, 10 indoor parking spots and 1 outdoor parking spot. We've got, for the 39 suites, 34 of them are 1 bedroom, 35 of them are 2 bedroom. They're compliant in handing their mailers in this instance. Very close, we're $1,000 away in terms of net operating income, so it's predominantly cap on this one. So 5.3. On this one, last go around, they reduced it from $3,012,000 to $2,845,000, and they used a 5 3/4 cap on that one. So, corner of Edmonton and Assiniboine, area of bike paths near, the Golden Boy, getting closer to Osborne Village there, down by the river. So, in my opinion, it's a desirable area in regards to where a potential renter would like to live. Quick access to Osborne, Broadway, downtown. I like that spot personally. It's a cap rate issue on this one. Thank you.
Thank you. Ryan, any questions of the assessor?
page 3 of your brief. Did you get the chance to review the past financial statements for the subject property, other than 2017?
Other than 2017, I just have 2017 in my brief, and I don't remember whether I did or not.
Okay. And everything here is all model driven, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. The vacancy rate of 3%, is that above average
That's just the market for the area.
mark for the area? The expense ratio, the expense rate that is stated here, is that typical for this apartment as well, or?
Yep.
And your rents were established using the rent comps on page 4 of your brief?
Yeah, well, they were generated by the model based on the income and expense numbers. These rent comps are just examples of nearby properties in the area showing that that's what they're getting. They're around the same effective year built with combinations of 1 and 2 bedroom units.
I realize that we're coming up to a very similar NOI. It looks like the expenses have something to do with that there. But you state that the average monthly rent for this property would be $809.75. 2017, on page, just referring on page 70 of my brief, they were only getting about, let's see, 39, vacancies included. So. Actually.
Maybe you can, we haven't seen your evidence yet, Ryan, so maybe you could bring that up in your evidence, please.
Okay, no problem. So on page 6A of your brief, it states that the rents are $712 for a 1-bedroom unit, $790 for a 2-bedroom unit, and $731 for the large 1-bedroom units. Your rents that you have stated on page, the rent that you've stated on page 4 of your brief of $809.75, don't you,
Yeah,
do
it's
you
not,
believe that the model may have made output something that's a little higher?
yeah, definitely. And when I glance ahead, we're high on the income, we're also high on the expenses. Fortunately, we all come out at the finish line at the same time.
No further questions.
Okay, thank you. I think he's pointing out that your NOIs are nearly the same.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just.
Very close. Yeah. Okay. Doug, any questions of the assessor?
None, thank you.
Thank you. Lynn, any questions?
Again, on your cap, it's a model cap for the area?
Yes.
Location, size?
Yep.
You've used a 5 cap on the other properties. They
Mhm.
are a slightly different location,
Mhm.
but is it all in the same sort of market area?
There's a size and
Yeah.
age component to it
Yeah,
as well.
exactly.
So,
I was just
yeah,
looking.
this one is in regards to the size of the property. Yes. So gross floor area is larger. Yeah, it gets a 5.3. It's a 46 to 59, so it gets a 5.3 where the other ones were in the 75 and 97, which get a 5%. So it's older, but they're in the same table with just different rows for the year built.
Okay, and in that middle section, the 1960, 1974, does it also get a 5.3 cap?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, thanks.
Excellent. I have no questions. Ryan, when you're ready, please.
Alright, so the subject property, 421 Assiniboine Avenue, roll number 12-0926, 40000, file number 19-2523. We are requesting the store to reduce the 2020 realty assessment from $3,362,000 to $2,756,000. So, the assessor is going through the description of the property for you. Again, I believe where we differ here is just on the parking stall count, 10 indoor parking, 1 outdoor parking, is what is on the assessor's brief. On the client's INE, on page 18 of my brief, they state that there are 10 outdoor parking stalls. I did email my client to confirm there are no indoor parking stalls for this property. Page 7A of my brief is my income workup. So again, we've used actuals, follows the same logic as my previous income valuations. For the repairs and maintenance, I have stabilized those, again, using the same logic as you've seen on 393 Kennedy, and that is on page 7B. We've applied a 6.25% base cap rate to the NOI, which again, yes, I do recognize that the assessor and I are very close on that part, and I've also applied an upward adjustment for the low amount of parking on the site as well. And that brings us to our requested value of $2,756,000. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Ryan. Matthew, any questions of the appellant?
Do you think this is in a good location for a rental?
Yeah, I think it's okay.
Do you ever make downward adjustments in the cap rate? I've seen only upward ones.
Not typically. I just go by the age categories that I've stated on the on our cap rate study.
Okay.
I know that, I guess in negotiation, I will discuss that, but.
Okay, those are my questions, thanks.
Thank you. Lynn, any questions?
Again, you've made an adjustment for parking. I believe this area is fairly desirable and probably close to buses and all that sort of thing. And has parking impacted the ability of this apartment block to rent? Like, what is the vacancy, and is parking a big issue for this building? I know lots of places in the area don't have good parking. They sometimes rent from other places nearby, they get passes on the street. I'm just asking what the situation is for this building.
Yeah, so. Yeah, I would agree that it has amenities for it, close to it. We'll have transit routes, 0.25% low parking. Yeah, that may have been inappropriate in this case.
Okay, thank you. I have no more questions.
Excellent. Doug, any questions?
My question's been answered, thank you.
Thank you. Just to clarify, Ryan, so you said there isn't 10 indoor parking stalls, is there 10 outdoor?
There's,
What's the total parking stalls available?
10 outdoor parking
Oh,
stalls.
so they are 10, it's not like, so there's 10, and the assessor had 1 in outdoor and 10 indoor, so there actually is a total of 10, okay. All right. And is there a pending municipal board on this property?
There is, yes, so,
Okay.
the board revision, reduced the value from $3,012,000 to $2,845,000.
Yeah,
Using our NOI actually, and a
Okay.
5.75 cap rate.
yeah, okay. So, there's a pending municipal board from 2018, board of revision. So the value was 2,845,000, and you're asking in the 2020 cycle to lower the value beneath that board of revision decision, but then you've got a pending muni board, obviously you didn't agree with that value. My question is, from 2018 to from 2016 to 2018 market value, has there been an increase in multifamily values in the marketplace, do you think? I'm not sure if you have any
Yeah.
experience with that
Uh,
at all.
Just from what I've read in our cap rate study, that's the reason it's tough to say, that's why we do go site specific
Okay.
on every apartment.
Okay.
They'll perform differently
Okay,
depending on the year,
fair enough.
depending on the reference period.
Matthew, any comments on the increase in market value
Yeah, it's
in
going up.
apartments? What's your department's analysis say?
It depends on the region, but I don't have the figures.
Yeah.
But I know we have, they're in good demand, like we have sub-5 cap rates, and we weren't seeing those in years previous. So
Okay.
demand is strong.
So when we're dealing with between Broadway south to the river in this area, any idea of the increase in market value?
I don't have any figures, but
Okay.
demand is good and our assessments are increasing. And that's a reflection of the market data that we're getting from all the income and expense mailers and the sales.
Okay.
So it is going up.
Okay, thank you. Okay, that was my only 2 questions. Okay, any requirement for summary by
No,
either
thank
party?
you.
Okay, thank you. So that completes 421 Assiniboine Avenue. Does anybody need a break, or should we do one more?
Okay.
Doug?
I'm fine, thank you.
Okay. One more? Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so the next property on the docket is 435 Sergeant Avenue.
Okay. File number 19.
Actually, sorry, excuse me, sorry. Yeah, it's okay. We're dealing with a 2020 realty assessment appeal only, no other issues. When you're ready, please.
Okay. File number 19-2308, roll number 13053048000, 435 Sergeant Avenue, owned by Winnipeg Housing Rehabilitation Corporation, not-for-profit. Roll number, or rather, roll year 2020, the assessed value for this apartment is $3,031,000. It's an apartment, 6 stories, 1984, effective year built 1984 as well, so we don't have any boost to it in that regard. 36 suites, 18 outdoor parking spots, construction class C masonry, bare walls. In regards to this one, we were actually lower than the appellant in terms of net operating income. They agreed with our effective gross income, and they have less expenses assigned to it. So I'm not gonna go on the income side. Our expenses are modeled at 56.3 .33%. As all not-for-profits, we have them set lower in our model to reflect that they're more utilitarian in nature, perhaps more wear, and that is reflected in the higher expense rates. So the condition and the operational nature of the property is encapsulated in the net operating income. We're looking at this on a fee simple basis as it would be purchased by a for-profit purchaser. So the condition, again, is taken care of in the calculation net operating income, not the cap rate. That would be doubling up. So page 4 shows rent comparables, and I also took the CMHC. You'll see on the average rent on a weighted average basis for CMHC is $9.79. Our model, you see, is $8.28. We are indeed less than what is in the area as it should be. Supporting numbers are taken on page 4A. So I suspect this is, again, predominantly a cap rate issue, even though we are lower in terms of net operating income. Again, I haven't inspected this or any other property. The picture of the property is on the last page. You've got your 6-story mid-rise, small high-rise, whatever you want to call it. They're on Sargent Street. So 5% cap as per age, area, and size. Thank you.
Thank you, Matthew Coleman. Ryan, any questions of the assessor's evidence?
Yeah, so looking at page 2 of your brief. So you say that because we applied the higher expense rate, the capitalization rate is already supported?
Well, no, I'm just saying, yeah, basically, we acknowledge that it is a not-for-profit, and with not-for-profits, typically, they're more utilitarian, basic in nature on the inside. Sometimes they're prone to more wear, higher expenses, so we reflect the actual nature of the property in this calculation of net operating income.
Just referring to a previous property on the docket, for 2071, you had stated that was a good location. You used a 5.3 cap on there. But this one, or for the subject property that we're looking at, 435 Sargent, we're applying a lower cap rate. Just applying a lower cap rate when we have a WHSC property in comparison to 421, which you have stated that it's a good location. Can you maybe abbreviate more on how you come to the 5% cap rate?
Yeah, for sure. That one is older. That one's a 59. This one we're looking at, it's an 84, so it's a lot newer. It falls into that age bucket, so it gets a lower cap rate.
But again, for 2071, you would agree that is in a better location, correct?
I would agree, yeah.
Okay. All right, no further questions.
Thank you. Lynn, any questions?
I have no questions.
Doug?
No, my question's been answered, thank you.
Thank you. Matthew, so this is, you can't rely on rents, this is subsidized rents, is that
Yeah.
right? Winnipeg Housing? Okay. And location on Sargent, are we on the corner of Sargent and Isabel? Am I right, or?
Get the applicants, Sargent and Kennedy,
Oh, okay, Sargent Canada, okay. Right,
one straight over.
yeah, Rochester, okay. At Kennedy, okay. Okay. Those are my only 2 questions. Brian, when you're ready, please.
Okay, so the subject property, 435 Sergeant Avenue, is a Winnipeg housing property. Roll number 13-053048 000, file number 19-2308. Page 1 of my brief, we are requesting this board to reduce the 2020 realty assessment from $3,031,000 to $2,441,000. This property is located in the Central Park area of Winnipeg. The assessor has, or Mr. Rokas has already provided an accurate description of the subject property. Provided further maps for you all to refer to on pages 2 and 3 of my brief. Page 7A of my brief. So we did apply the income that the assessment department has applied. Where we differ is our expenses. We conduct a site-specific analysis for the expenses of the subject property. We do come in lower than the assessment department, $182,264, 52% expense, 52.5% expense rate. We have applied, or based off of that, we do come up to a net operating income of $164,768. For the cap rate, we have applied a 5.75% base cap rate, and upward adjustments for the site-specific issues with this property, as well as the fact that it is a housing property. Page 7B, you can see how I have stabilized my repair and maintenance. Now, just with regards to housing properties, in the sub-appendix of my brief, I realize it's quite large. We have provided a summary of the cap rates that the Board of Revision has applied. Again, this was subsequent to when the email was sent out to me. But there are municipal board decisions as well with riskier assets, which we believe WHRC is. So based off of that, we've applied the upward adjustments to the cap rate for this property. And again, we're asking this board to reduce the assessed value for the subject to $2,441,000.
Okay, thank you, Ryan. Matthew, any questions?
Just for the boosting cap for, you're saying it's housing, do you have any statistical support for that in your cap rate study?
We do not know.
Okay. And then just in regards to the orders you've submitted, are you aware that there's some orders in the 5-point-something% range for other properties that are not for profit that have been heard at the Board of Revision?
You know what, Matthew, we're not gonna go.
Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
maybe, yeah, we'll just,
Okay,
thank you.
that's my evidence. Questions? Thank you.
Thank you. Doug, any questions?
None for me, thank you.
Thank you, Doug. Lynn?
I have a question.
Yes.
This is about your base cap rate.
Yes.
You've applied a base cap rate of 5.75 on this Sergeant property. And a previous one we just looked at on Edmonton, which was pretty close by, and I'm thinking it is, you applied a 5.5 base cap rate. So why is there a difference in the base cap rate?
On Edmonton?
374 Edmonton.
Okay, so it's 1984, that's in 5.
I can't really tell from your map without pulling, I could actually.
374 Edmonton, I believe I applied a 575 base cap rate for that as well.
Did I write it down? I have, oh, maybe I wrote it wrong.
You got 6.5 on that one.
Pardon me?
6.5 on Edmonton.
That's what I thought. Let me just double check, okay? 5.75, you did. My apologies, I wrote it down wrong. Thank you.
Thank you. Ryan, are these, are there pending municipal boards on this one? With Winnipeg Housing?
Sergeant, no, there's not. Well, sorry, from last year, we did not appeal this.
You never had, or you never,
Sorry?
you never handled the appeals last year for this, or you never appealed it at all? Is that,
Not last cycle.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Okay. All right. That's my only question. Okay. So that, any requirement for summary regarding Winnipeg Housing?
I'm good, thank you.
Okay. Ryan, thanks, okay. You know what, we're gonna take a 10-minute recess here, please. Thanks, Keith. Okay, I will now call the hearing back to order. Next property on the docket is 33 Kennedy Street. Okay, and we're dealing with a 2020 realty appeal, and we do have an issue here with a request for non-cooperation from the assessor, and then we'll deal with the 2020 realty appeal. But we'll deal with the request for non-cooperation. First, Matthew, please.
Okay, I don't think it's being contested, right?
It is not being contested, no.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so, all right. So, seeing as it's not, any questions from the panel members at all, from either parties? Okay. So, I don't think we'll ask for a recess, we'll just allow the non-cooperation request from the assessor. Katie? Thank you. So that means, Ryan, if you will go first, please.
Just for presenting.
Yeah, because now the burden of proof is on you, so.
It switches, yeah, you present first and then I
Yeah.
go.
Okay.
Yeah, for the
Thanks, that process.
non-cooperation. Yeah,
Okay,
it's a learning moment.
yeah. Okay, so the subject property, look at 33 Kennedy Street. We're asking this board to reduce the 2020 realty assessment from $2,553,000 to $2,041,000. They do a drive-by of this property. So it's located on the south side of Kennedy Street, between Broadway and Assiniboine Avenue. It's in the Broadway-Assiniboine neighborhood of Winnipeg. It consists of an 8-story structure built in 1960. Presently being used as a multi-family residential building with a total gross floor area of 40,035 square feet. Has a total of 38 units, including 14 bachelor suites, 8 one-bedroom units, and 16 two-bedroom units. And there are 43 parking stalls reported as being on site. Site size, according to the assessment department records, is 18,099 square feet and is zoned downtown living. Page 3, I provided a further map. Page 7 is my income workup. So we have used actual same logic here unless otherwise stated. We have used 2017. There's always the biggest issue with regards to the expenses on line 27. We've used the average from 2013 to 2017. That works out to $973 per suite. So you can see here also on line 5. This property has been experiencing vacancy issues throughout the years within the reference period. So we have applied a vacancy rate of 7.3%. That's on average of what it is there. So we come up to an NOI of $122,484. We have applied a cap rate of 6% based on our cap rate study. And that brings us to our requested value of $2,041,000. Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan. Matthew, any questions of the appellant?
Have you inspected this property?
Just the external, but not the internal.
Do you know if they've been doing any renovations which might have an effect on the above average vacancy rate?
But according to the building permits that I pulled, no, there's no interior renovations to my knowledge.
Okay. Those are my questions, thank you.
Thank you. Lynn, any questions of the appellant?
I was just going to also ask about the vacancy of 7.3. And it's not due to renovations, but are you aware of what's causing that vacancy rate?
I'm not, it's just what our data was showing us. I can't speak to 2018, but that's just what the data has been showing us from 2013 to 2017. Looks like the market, this property was not appealing to the renters during the period.
Do you have a picture of it here?
I do on page 1.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Lynn. Doug, any questions?
No questions for me, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Ryan, I'm looking on page 7,
Okay.
line 5, line. Yeah, line 5, the vacancy. In 2016 and 2017, it seems to be trending downwards. Would you agree on that?
Yeah, I would agree on that.
Yeah. And yet, I'm not sure if you prepared this or not, but it seemed, but yet you're using this, the average, right?
I am using the average, yes.
Yeah, okay. All right, and line 27, repair and maintenance. 2017 was 28,000, 2016 was 35, 2015 was in the 40s, okay. And you are higher than those last 2 years that would appear, right, than the average too. You've kind of gone to the average, I think, so.
Yeah, I got to the average there.
Little bit
Guess I'm
higher.
a little above the median average there.
How much is that a suite, do you know?
$973 per suite.
Okay, so about $1,000, okay.
$1,000, that seems,
Yeah, okay,
that seems sustainable to me.
Yeah.
You could have some high years, some low years.
yeah,
Older properties are trying to keep up with newer stock now, so.
yeah. 2014 and 2015, we've got the highest repair and maintenance and plus the highest vacancy rates since 2013. So was there some kind of, are you aware of any renovations taking place that would have driven up that vacancy and those expenditures?
Yeah. So that's why I did the external inspection for this property.
Yeah.
I can't speak to the interior, but the exterior still seemed original to me. The windows,
Yeah.
they still look like they were, like, it still looked like a few of those needed to be replaced.
Yeah, sliders or whatever, yeah.
Sliders, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
So I wonder what was going on in those 2 years. Anyway, okay. The expenses seem to coincide with the vacancy, higher vacancy rate, so that's a while ago. Okay.
They might have tried to spend the higher repair and maintenance, maybe, point out there to try to get the vacancy down, maybe, to maybe repair the suites,
Yeah.
more maintenance on them to.
Yeah, they might have been doing
renters.
some cosmetic upgrades or whatever, yeah.
Possibly, I can't confirm that this time.
And you don't have any permits taken out for any major work?
Not any major work,
Okay.
yeah,
You don't have value anyway, do you?
not a value on those, no.
No, yeah, okay. All right, that's my only questions. Matthew, did I ask you if you had any questions?
I think I already asked them.
Yeah, okay, yes, sir. Losing track here. Okay, that's all our questions of the appellant, so Matthew, when you're ready, please.
Okay, so 1960, no effective year built on this. 38 suites, 43 outdoor parking spots. The location you can see on the applicant's brief on page 2. Kennedy getting down, it's actually crossing the ledge there, not too far from Kennedy and Savoy. So we had another property there, getting down there close to the river. I think it's a pretty good area. Last go around before the revision, it was reduced from 2.451 million to 2.186 million, and they used a 5.5 cap rate on that. This time we're at 5.3 in regards to cap, so pretty similar to what it was last time. Not having access to the most recent mailers, wasn't able to do a review of the most relevant income and expenses. Of the 38 total units, there's 14 bachelor, 8 one-bedroom, and 16 two-bedroom. Our model parameters with our 5.3 cap as per agent area generate 2.553 million on the assessment. Our comparables are found on page 4. So there are properties in the area of the same vintage. Some of them have bachelor units as well, comparable 2 and comparable 4. And you'll notice that the comparables bracket the property in terms of effective year built, average monthly rent per unit. 3 of the 4 are in the same construction class, so it looks like our rent's supported. Not having the most accurate, most recent financials, wasn't able to do a site-specific analysis on them, so I just went with model parameters. There's a picture from an ad, the last page. Second last page of my brief just shows an exterior from the Winnipeg Architecture Foundation website. That's my evidence, thank you.
Thank you, Matthew. Okay. Doug, any questions?
Just one, on the last time this was being looked at, the cap rate was 5.5%?
They reduced it to 5.5. They reduced it using a 5.5% cap rate.
Okay, and you reduced it again to 5.3?
We have 5.3, the model's kicking out this time, so we're pretty close.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Doug. Lynn, any questions?
I have no questions.
Are there any parking spots in the back here that you're aware
We've
of?
got 43 outdoor parking spots on record, so looking at the picture, it looks like on the applicant's brief on page 2, I see parked cars, so that would be where that is.
At the rear of the building?
At the rear, yeah.
Oh, yeah, off the back lane, right? Yeah. And we're looking out onto the Governor General's house, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Okay. I have no other questions. Any requirement for summary
No, thank you.
by either party?
I just didn't get a chance to ask any questions.
Oh, I'm sorry, Ryan.
No.
Sorry.
It's okay.
Back we go.
Changing the owners.
Yeah.
Thank you for pointing that out.
Mr. Brokus, so I do realize that you didn't get the chance to analyze the 2016 and 2017 income statements, but Mr. Hutchings just asked permission for this. May I refer Mr. Brokus now to my brief in order to sort of
Sure.
articulate my questions here?
Of course.
So just looking at my workup on page 7, the effective gross income, it's never reached 287, or sorry, it's never reached the effective gross income that the model has stated of 305,572. In your opinion, with the model generated EGI, does that now appear a little higher to you?
I think there's a difference in vacancy there too, as well. You've got a 7.3% vacancy, which is not the market for the area. In 2013, jumped from 2.5, which seems normal, up to 12, and then it's been ticking downwards. I did notice as I was going through your brief, just very quickly, that for 2017, on page 24, they listed $85,000 worth of plumbing repairs as on the date as ongoing. Now, I don't know if that's something that would accelerate the vacancy rate or not. Maybe that's something when people move out, they gotta get people in there to fix the plumbing, and that inflates that number. So I don't have enough information basically to comment on it.
No further questions.
Okay, thank you, Ryan. Apologize for that. It's okay.
We're done.
We're done. Thank you. Okay, that concludes 33 Kennedy Street, Longwood. Thanks, Lynn. Okay, next property on the docket is 270 Broadway, and we're doing a 2020 realty appeal assessment only. Matthew, when you're ready, please.
Okay. Let me read this real quick. Okay. File number 19-2269, roll number 12092475270 Broadway. It's an apartment, roll year 2020, assessed value $2,368,000, one building, 3 stories, 1940. We don't have any sort of effective year built applied to it. So what we have with this property here, 31 suites, 1 outdoor parking spot. So essentially no parking, construction class C, masonry, barren walls, see what. So I'm gonna make a recommendation on this property, just doing a review. We're quite far apart in terms of net operating income on it. So I'm gonna make a recommendation on the property. To use the applicant's net operating income of $115,828, based on his stabilization. I reviewed his figures, and it looks like this property has been experiencing higher than normal vacancy over a prolonged period of time. So our effective gross income is overstated, and our expenses are a bit off too. So I'm gonna use the $115,828 and a 6.6 cap to reduce it to $1,755,000.
Thank you, Matthew. Ryan, you need a second to consider that? I'm not sure if you were aware of it or not.
Yeah, Ms. Rokas, I like that offer. It would be pending my client's approval after this, after the hearing. But at this time, I believe I will accept that recommendation at $1,755,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Any questions from Doug? Any questions?
No.
Okay. Lynn?
I have no questions.
And I have no questions either. So just to confirm, NOI of 115,828 at 6.6%. And just to confirm, Ryan, you're agreeing to the final value?
I'm agreeing to the final value, yes.
Okay. Okay. All right, leave that with us, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Okay, last one, 16 Edmonton Street. And we're dealing with a 2020 Realty Appeal only. Pardon me. Matthew, when you're ready, please.
Okay. File number 19-2540, roll number 12092677000, 16 Edmonton Street. Assessed value for 2020 is $1,710,000. Last go around, it was reduced from 1.549 to 1.479, and they used a 5.5 cap rate on that one. This go around, we are at 4.7 on the cap. That is based on age, area, and size. Size being the main factor in regards to where this cap rate differs from the cap rates we've seen for the other properties we've heard today of the same vintage. 1960, 1975 effective year built, that justification for that. Last page of my brief, page 10, 2011. They did interior alterations to the residential suites. The 16-unit apartment building, declared construction value was $80,000. So they've fixed it up. For the purpose of saving time, there's 17 bachelor units out of all 17, so they're all bachelor units. It's cap rate issue, this one, the applicant's net operating income is actually a little bit higher than ours. So, the property is found 16 Edmonton. So it's Edmonton, one building north of Assiniboine, in that corner near the legislative building. Pictures are on page 2 of the applicant's brief. So, again, a desirable area near the ledge, near the forks. You just go down Assiniboine and go across the way there near Osborne, not too far from downtown, South Portage Shed. I think it's a great area for a renter, and I would anticipate strong demand for this property, as evidenced by its low vacancy rate. So, 4.7 on the cap as per age, area, and size. That's my best, thank you.
Thank you. Brian, any questions of the assessor?
No questions.
Thank you. Lynn, any questions?
My question was on the cap, so you've explained that really it's a function of size
It's a function of size. yeah.
in this case. So can you explain to me, because I've heard different explanations
Mhm.
depending on whose side is being asked. Why is there a lower cap rate on smaller sized buildings?
Well, so we're at 4.7. So it depends on the vintage as well, but for smaller size buildings, I would think that, given their size, there's a larger pool of potential buyers. It's not like a giant property where a purchaser would have to get a loan approval for a large sum of money.
Okay.
So a property like this, sub $2 million, in an area like it's in, if, perhaps a private citizen, could go and get a loan for this.
Okay.
So, in my opinion, that would be why smaller buildings are shown to have a lower cap rate.
Okay, thank you.
Doug, any questions?
My question's been answered, thank you.
Thank you. Did I ask you, Ryan, if you had any questions?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, just checking, okay.
Thank you for that.
Okay, so Ryan, when you're ready, please, 16 Edmonton Street.
Alright, so 16 Edmonton Street, roll number 12-09267700, file number 19-2540. Mr. Brockus has brought up a good point, just with regards to the low vacancy rates. For that reason, I will revise my value here. I've added a 0.25% premium for the sweet mix. It looks like there are, because of the low vacancy there, good point to bring up. So I'm just gonna stick with the base cap rate and 936, and I'm just going to apply, I'll still apply our NOI at 86,936, and with the base cap rate, that will bring my valuation up to $1,449,000.
Ryan, what cap rate were you using?
6% base cap rate.
6, okay?
Yes.
All right. 6.0 equals, your NOI capped at 6% equals $1,449,000, okay.
Correct, yes.
And that's a verbal rec today, I guess. Okay. Matthew, any questions?
No questions.
Lynn, any questions?
Yeah, I have a question, the same question that I asked the assessor. Altus does not seem to adjust their cap rates for size.
No, we typically.
based on what I see.
Mhm.
So why is that? Is this sort of a different take on the same?
Sort of applying the economies of scale here, but the fact that it's smaller, rents are lower. Yeah, I wouldn't, unfortunately, I can't answer that. We typically go by the age of the property, and I usually just find a
So
cap
for
rate in
Altus,
there.
it's really about age and location?
Age and location, yes.
So, okay,
Mhm.
okay, thank you.
Thanks, Lynn. Doug?
Nothing for me, thank you.
Okay. So I'm gonna redirect, so Matthew, you're saying that you have evidence of small buildings being more affordable and that smaller investors are getting into that market and indicating
Well,
low
there's
cap
just,
rates.
there's just a bigger pool when you're looking at buildings of smaller sizes. They sell for less than the equivalent building with a bigger footprint. As such, more people theoretically would have access to taking out the amount of money required to compete to purchase the property, which would boost the demand, which would be reflected in the lower cap rate.
Okay, okay. Thank you, and I have no questions of you, Ryan, so, requirement for summary by
I'm
the
good,
clerk?
thanks.
Okay, so that concludes our hearing today. And 18 Edmonton Street, thank you very much both for appearing.
Thank you.